This is Robert Foley from Startup Kitchen. I'm here today with Dwight Spencer, co-founder of Q1 Labs and currently with IBM. How you doing, Dwight?
Good, Rob. Thanks. Yourself?
Very good. Thanks for joining.
Good.
So Q1 Labs is now with IBM. You guys were acquired a couple of years ago. But what I really want to talk about is kind of the story of the startup, which happened of
where we got started.
Yeah, when you guys all begun and like that whole starting phase and what that was all like. So I guess the first question is, what is Q1 Labs? What did it do?
So Q1 Labs is basically a, for lack of a better word, a security company. A lot of people say, is it something that everybody would use? No, it is a enterprise, large company security product. It basically monitors the activity on a network, tries to correlate that, or not tries, correlates that with other systems on their environment, like security products, authentication systems, and gives the security team and operations team a view of everything that's happening on their network. It's always been about trying to reduce the amount of information a person has to analyze. Back in the days when we started, people were always looking at huge log files and looking at events, FTP logs and mail server logs and web server logs, trying to figure out, is this good? Is this bad? What does it all mean? It's just, in today's day and age, there's so much information out there, people are just getting inundated. So one of the goals that we're trying to do is take all that information, consolidate it into actionable items.
Right.
By cross-referencing all the source of information, normalizing it and saying, okay, this looks like a problem based on our previous activities that we've investigated.
Right. So that sounds like a pretty big problem that you guys went out there to solve.
Right.
How did you guys originally come up with that idea? Like, where did that all come from?
So that correlation really only started about 2004, maybe 2003, somewhere. Timelines are a blur. I've been at this for 14 years, and it's hilarious how quickly that time has gone by. When we first started out, one of our co-founders, Chris Newton, who went on to start Radian6, he had been working at the university himself, and also Sandy Bird, our other co-founder, and myself had all worked there over the years. And in 1998 or 1999, they wired up the residences during the summer. And when the students all came back that next fall, the university's network just went crashed. There was no bandwidth left. So when they first started talking, they said, okay, we got to figure out what's going on. And the first product was basically a network monitoring, network analysis tool. And we developed it at UMB, out of the Computing Services Department at the time. Now it's called ITS, I think is the name of it. I'd have to check the name of it. But what we started doing there, Chris actually started doing this on his own, working with the computing center. They said, Chris, look, you've got to find a tool, something that can tell us what's going on the network. So he tried a bunch of different products, like packet sniffers, like different analysis tools, and couldn't quite get what he wanted to see. So he started working on some open source projects, open source products, bringing them in, sending some data at them. Says, okay, this kind of looks like it might be useful, grabbing events and activities from other servers. And he started to build an engine around that. And within about, I think around Christmas time, he started like in September, October, maybe Christmas, January, February, he was starting to get some traction to seeing what was going on. When they actually saw that, like the first product we had was called NBAD, Network Behavior Anomaly Detection. And he started plotting the activity on the network. And he was just, wow, that's a completely different point of view. So he worked on that until about, let's say, for this summer and into the fall of 2000. And his directors at the time at the computing center said, Chris, this is a really amazing tool. There's a potential here for a product. Commercial product. Really?
Right.
Yeah. So he said, sure. So we started going to some other university conferences where they do like a lot of like just discussions between like the similar teams there, the other computing centers, and what problems they're having to see if they might be interested in this. And they just ate it up. They said, we want it. They said, we need to see what's going on in the network. It's kind of they've probably been going through like the same timeline of bringing in higher bandwidth universities, wiring up the residences, and offering more services. Like the growth explosion of the internet is pretty much what the precursor was to this. I can remember when I started at UMB, they had a 56K link for the entire university. I've got 80 megabit to home now, and it's, I don't know how many years later, I'm not even going to try to add those up. But so he started that out, and about that fall, he had asked Sandy Bird and myself to start working with him. He says, look, I've got I don't know what I've got here, but there's interest.
Right.
So he ended up getting the two of us on board. That was probably November of 2000. He did a presentation at the university. And during the presentation, the university had invited other alumni to come back in and say, look, we're doing like a technology demo. So Chris was there. There were some guys from the forestry department, geodesy and geomatics, I think was the other groups, the biomed team. They were presenting things that they had developed to businessmen, people who had gone on into the business and seeing like, this is what we've got. And our first CEO, our angel CEO, Brian Flood, was there, found Chris and just pounced on him. Said, like, this has got some huge potential. He'd been in California for 6 to 8 months, 12 months, trying to find a startup to get involved in. Found one in his backyard. So he took Chris out to California. They met with some other IT companies and kind of showed them what we had. And they said, looks good. Let us know when you get to market. And here we are, 14 years later.
Right.
Part of IBM. So there's a lot of history jumped over it.
A lot of in-between moments there, but
yeah. But that's basically how we got started.
So tell us a little bit, like, not every, we talked about kind of like, how that all started and then all the moments that might happen in between. But going through a startup life cycle, there's always some moments that don't always work out, right? And some startups survive, some startups don't. No. You guys were one of the ones that survived. What were some of the points where you guys hit along the road where it was like, hey, today's not as good as it was yesterday?
Probably some of the first challenges was just finding customers. Like, we knew we had interest, but just going out to find somebody who would pay for the product. One of the challenges was there too is that this product was in a new space, like a new market. And we were competing against security products that had been around for ages, like Computer Associates, Unicenter, HP's OpenView. They were network management tools. They didn't have the same capabilities that we had, but they had an established user base. So we said, well, maybe we can get into this space. So we kept pushing there, and we closed a couple few sales. The first sale I can remember was pretty interesting. I think our CEO, Brian Flood, told Sandy to call them and say, you close the deal. One of our first 2 sales, and Sandy closed it. But he said it was, excuse me, probably one of the hardest things he'd done up to that time. But it was the thrill of closing the first sale. Some of the other challenges, growing the company, trying to find talented individuals. Our first hire, the first person we paid on salary, is still with us today. He's actually working in Belfast, and he was a university student at UNB when we started. It's kind of interesting. We were trying to finish up some bugs, and he was trying to finish his exams. And we said, look, Chris, we'll go to the president. We'll get you an extension on your exams. We've got to get these problems fixed. He said, no, I'll do my exams and I'll come back to this. Anyways, he finished his exams and finished the year and come back working on the code. But it was kind of funny to see like where our goals were at that time. Like just like pushing new features out, pushing new code, getting things released. Like a customer would talk to us and I'd like to see this. So a couple of times while Sandy and Chris were on the road, I was here, I was coding things, and they're going, oh, it's there, while they were doing a demonstration. It's just that doesn't happen today, but it's, that was some of the challenges, just trying to find the talent.
Right.
And just trying to get things done as fast as we could. And that's probably even a bigger challenge today. When we were starting out, the market wasn't quite as active. So we had a little bit of lead time to work with. But today, you've got to be first to market. So I think when we got to that point where we started selling products, we were starting to sign customers, we just kept pushing hard forward, harder and harder and harder, just getting the features out there.
So you were talking about like your first recruit and whatnot there, but also during that time, like New Brunswick and the Maritimes and the region as a whole was not like the second, like didn't have much of an ICT sector going on. How did you manage to actually recruit talent when so many young individuals were looking to leave the province?
So it was slow. Like we picked up, I think within the first probably a year or two, we probably picked up like 5, 6 guys. And then kind of find out there was a lot of, how to word it? When we bring somebody in, like one of the first people we brought on board was probably Chris Van Joy, you know Chris. And he brought people with him. Like it was by like word of mouth.
Right.
People said this company's starting out, so we'd get like 3 or 4 people here and 2 or 3 people there, and bringing them on. And there was always a challenge for funding. Like we went for our first rounds of funding in 2002, just after the market self-destructed, and it was tough, very tough to get funding in those years. I think we chased the first round of funding for something like 12 months, 16 months, all the while bootstrapping it. Like our burn rate in the probably the first 8 to 12, 16 months before we even left our full-time jobs. Like when we were starting at Q1, Sandy and I and Chris, we had full-time jobs.
Right.
You were mentioning earlier about the after-hours work. So we would work our 9 to 5, 9 to 6, 9 to 7 jobs, go home, do some more coding. I can remember many times I get into the habit when I started to fall asleep, I'd pull my hands away from the keyboard just so that I wouldn't delete all the code. We'd go meet at Tim Hortons like at 8 or 9 or 10, 11 o'clock at night, bounce my ideas off each other, and they close up, and then they say, oh, you guys got to go. And just kind of grew from there. But it's been like just growing the team. And I think one of the things we first realized is that you have to realize your limitations. We weren't business guys. We knew we needed business people involved with us. We knew that we needed the business mentoring to kind of know where to go. The university had I think their first intellectual property lawyer. I think that was his title, like basically helping transfer what we created at UMB into Q1 Labs. He advised us a lot. UMB was a great partner to start. They became an equity owner in the company when we first started out too. So
Right.
And they were very, very helpful. Like they said to the guys, look, as long as your work is done, if you need to take a day or two to go meet a customer, go. I think it worked out for everybody. And like I was working with the province, and my boss at the time said, look, it's no problem. He says, if you need a few hours here and there to do something or a day, just go. He said, just do what needs to be done.
That's cool.
So yeah, it's been interesting.
So you were talking there like about the university mentoring you, and a lot's changed. Like we're sitting in a facility now where people are getting mentored all the time, and programs are being built to surround entrepreneurs. How has it changed since when you guys first started? Like, who were your mentors back then, and like, what has been the dramatic changes that you've seen in the ecosystem in that past 14 years? Do you guys feel like you've had some kind of impact in the past 5 years?
Perhaps. When we first started it, like I said, our first CEO, Brian Flood from St. John, he was a businessman. He'd run a couple of restaurants, been involved in some other companies. Jerry Pond helped us a lot at the start too, kind of leading us like where the company should go. Maybe not necessarily product, but where the company needs to be.
Okay.
It was a huge help. There was different guys like a guy named Dave Wagner. I'm sure if he's working in town here now. Ian Kavanaugh, those guys are still very active in new startups within the province today. And it's great to see them, but there's more and more and more people helping out as well. Like you were saying, like within the Planet Hatch organization here, there's 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 startups in here now, and there's a lot more. With that's kind of like a snowball effect. As more and more people are getting involved in startups, more and more people are interested in seeing that success. Myself as well. Like when we were talking about mentors, being 3 young guys, hardly out of university, trying to figure out where do we need to go. It was tough, trying to figure out what's the best path. What is the path? Just trying to define that, where to go, like who to get involved. Like I said a minute ago, you have to be able to realize your limitations and bring people in that contribute to the team. And we did that.
Right.
So like I said, we had the business team in, we had the sales development team in, like working with other partners, trying to get other sales people involved as well.
So you guys have gone on quite a journey so far, and a major milestone in that journey was when you got acquired by IBM. Was that a hard decision to do, and what lessons did you learn from that?
So when you start a startup, there's always this exit strategy idea. What's the exit? What's the goal? When we first started out, we didn't have an exit strategy. It was just go. We didn't even realize there was the idea of an exit strategy. So after we grew the company out, our first CEO and our second CEO, he had gone public with a couple other companies, Sean McConnon, and he said, that's the goal, to go public. So we always structured the company around that idea of taking it to a publicly marketed company. And that really helped even the acquisition from IBM, because either going public or through an acquisition, there's things that the way the company has to be set up to make that easy. And we had that done. Like when IBM went through the acquisition phase, it usually said that it could take anywhere from like 2 to 4 to 6 months once it's kind of started. They said for us it was like a third the time because the company was set up to either go public because you have to have like certain paperwork done, certain filings done. The company has to be structured in a certain way. We already had that. So that really facilitated that progress. And a lot of people have asked me, what did I think about the acquisition? It's, like I said, we had no goal. It was just, it's grown and grown and grown for 14 years. And about 12 years in, when we closed with IBM, I was just, why not?
Yeah.
There were some mixed feelings at the start, and not everybody stayed with the team. Some people have moved on. But not only has it helped us, it's helped the province, because now like we're still growing in Fredericton. There's still opportunities within IBM, within Q1 Labs and the team here. And not only that, it's brought IBM as a presence to Fredericton in the IT sector. So now there's more opportunities to work for people coming out of university, coming out of colleges that are interested in working with a large IT company like IBM. They've been around 100 years the year they acquired us. That's phenomenal. They've been around that long. So I think it's definitely a win. It's definitely a win. There's a lot of opportunity with us and with IBM itself.
Excellent. What advice do you have for entrepreneurs in the region?
People ask me if I would do it again. I think I would. Don't be afraid to take a chance. You always kind of wonder, is this the best choice to make? Is it something I can afford to do? If you don't take the chance, then you'll never know. Today's day and age, if you get into a mess, there's usually a lot of people around who will help you get out. So, depends on your life situation.
Right.
So you kind of weigh your life situation, your family, with taking the opportunity of becoming a startup, jumping into a startup, becoming an entrepreneur. Just think about it. It's definitely been positive for me. Like I said, the 14 years have gone by so fast. It's been great. And the second thing I would say, get a good team around you. The team and the people around you, they make work so enjoyable. It's not work. I've told, we've been, within Q1, it wasn't work for me. It was family. You spend 8, 9, 10, 12 hours a day with these people. If they're fun to be around and you're having a good time, that's a definite benefit. Even if you don't necessarily succeed, it's definitely a life experience for you.
Yeah.
So, and it's been for me. This is the longest I've been in one place, 14 years now, and I'm happy.
Thank you very much for your time, Dwight. And
Thanks, Rob.
we look forward to you and IBM's success here in Fredericton going forward.
Thank you.